Hello everyone, thank you for watching this video. I'm Siqing Wei. I'm very honored to have received this CILMAR grant to enable us to complete the project I'm going to proposing to you. And our project is about investigating first-year engineering student multicultural team experiences. I'm very glad that I can work on this project with Dr. Li Tan, who is currently at Arizona State University, Dr. Matthew Ohland, who is at Purdue in engineering education, and Amirreza, who is a first-year PhD student in engineering education as well. This topic is particularly important for several reasons. First of all, team-based learning approach has been proven to be very effective. Students can gain from this approach by increasing their learning performances and motivation. In addition to that, teamwork competence itself has been considered as the most essential professional skill that highly wanted by HR in industrial. Second of all, a lot of literature have already investigated that the student team compositions can impact their learning effectiveness. However, very little attention has been paid on international students particularly, or cultural diversity. Given to the booming enrollment of international students on U.S. campuses, particularly in engineering education, we think it's very essential to investigating this phenomenon of multicultural team experiences. Therefore, we're proposing two research questions. The first question is done by quantitative method. We ask to which extent international peers boost team-based learning effectiveness in undergraduate engineering education. And the second qualitative study asks how does first-year engineering multicultural teams experience their team dynamics or stages. Let's start with the quantitative study. Literature informs us that people conceptualize cultural diversity in different ways. The most traditional one actually was proposed by Hofstadter back in 1980s, where he studied the national culture differences among 6 dimensions, for example, long-term versus short-term representation, and for another example, individualism versus collectivism. A lot of other studies also use linguistic-based measures, which means what kind of language you speak as a proxy for cultural diversity. However, the most commonly used way to measure the cultural diversity or use the data to infer to that is the countries of origin as a categorical data. It is very operational because you can easily to get the research data to acquire that. Therefore, in this study, we focus on multicultural teams and which were operationalized as the teams consisting of students born in different countries. Our data come from the first engineering student teams. Where students need to take a mandatory first semester engineering courses at Purdue. Recall that we investigate the relationship between multicultural teams and the team learning effectiveness. In this study, we quantify the team learning effectiveness as averaged academic peer evaluations and course grades. Where I'm going to talk about the academic peer evaluation later on. In these classes, particularly, students were assigned to teams based on the academic team maker tools, and team members worked extensively together throughout the semester. So during the classes, we collected the students' self and peer evaluation about the team members at 4 different time frames during the semester from the beginning to the end. How the students rate each other on their teamwork skill is based on five dimensions: contributing to the team's work, interacting with team members, keeping the team on track, expecting quality, having relevant KSAs, which is the knowledge, skills, and abilities. In these slides, we basically show the proportion of our samples born in each countries. The major takeaway from you maybe that international students in our sample are from different parts of the world with different kind of cultural backgrounds, reflected by the degree of gray. Methodology-wise, we use the regression and structural equation models to analyze the data. Here is the overview of our result, and you can see it's very large, but very tiny to say. We just want to give you the conceptual understanding about the structural modeling, structural equation modeling, and within the model itself, it has 4 periods, from 1 down to 4. And we're going to zoom in one period for you to look, and the other period has a similar result. A little bit more background information. In this structural equation model, oval means unobserved factors and squared means observed factors. I want to highlight one particular unobserved factor, team dynamics first. While the team dynamics factor is not observed, we can infer its value based on the realized metrics of academic dimensions. And the team dynamics are also influenced by a few other observed factors, for example, the individual demographics, and whether or not the team has at least one international student, where we define as the multicultural teams. From our result, the student in multicultural teams has higher about 0.08 unit higher level of team dynamics than their peers in all domestic student teams. Furthermore, one higher level of team dynamics in turn leads to a 0.3 higher level of grade, which is significant effect practically. For future direction of this project, one thing we really want to do is to use a qualitative study design to better understand the mechanism of why multicultural teams compared to the cultural homogeneous team have a relatively better performances regarding to the improvement of learning effectiveness. And that is original design for our qualitative study, but I mean, due to the relatively low number of participants we were able to recruit it, we somehow shift the direction of this study. Although we're still this study still taking in places in the multicultural teams. So in these studies, we largely draw on Tuckman's team development models, which have 5 stages theoretically, which is forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. The major characteristics have been summarized here in the figure, and I'm going to pause a few seconds for you to read them through. Furthermore, in figure 2, we also visualize the effectiveness of the team over time, which is corresponding to the Tuckman's model. Specifically, we try to recruit our participant from a summer engineering 131 session, which is a first year engineering classes mandatory. The classes condense our 16-week classes into 4 weeks, which the class very fast pacing. And after the semester was finished, we start to recruit the student in the fall semester right after. And the instructor help us to distribute the survey to call for participant. And here is a table to summarize the characteristics about the team members based on our central participant, which is the Eric and the Maxwell. Because of the small number, we choose to use a case study as the major research design, and we use a semi-structured interview as a major way for data collection. We ask a bunch of questions trying to prompt the student to go over with their team stages, and the questions are designed along with the 5 stages about the Tuckman's model. Particularly, the last question are prompt to enable students to talk further about the role of the international student on their team. The figures described the team stages interpreted by the research team. The first result we want to report out is that students don't perceive they went through the storming stage, which is featured by the conflict. And the second major finding we want to say is that even though the original Tuckman's model is theoretically theorized to be linear, but it's not the cases in in both of our examples. There's no missing storming stage, and the boundaries of the contingent stages are sometimes overlapping. Furthermore, we also want to acknowledge that the contextual factor play a huge role in shaping students' perception of their team experiences. For example, the support and the feedback of the instructor and teaching assistant can increase their team cohesion. The fast-paced course schedule and the time constraints actually limit the students' reflection, ability to think about what is going on, and it also plays a role to reduce the possibility of confronting the conflict. In addition, students reported that they have some pre-assumptions about their teammates because they think their teammates get admission from Purdue, so that they have been great academically already. Furthermore, they are willing to get started early in the summer, which shows the motivation, which they just assume that their teammates are great. Furthermore, participants reported that their prior experience of working in team helped a lot to lead you to a relatively successful team's experiences in this particular class. However, we did not notice any significant or notable benefits or shortcomings about having international peers on the team. What to do next? We're going to continue with this study with a much larger sample size so that we can have a more comprehensive and better representation of the population in our data sample. And we're also advised to somehow change our interview protocol so that we can emphasize on international student contribution and drawbacks in the teams. That's about it. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to shoot me an email. And my email address is listed over there, 118 at Purdue EDU. And we have already published our quantitative study in American Society of Engineering Education and a conference in 2022. And we're about to publish the qualitative study in this year's conference. Thank you so much for your attention.